When we think about the direction of our lives, we often point to external circumstances, where we were born, the opportunities we were given, or the people who came into our path. But what most people miss is that long before circumstances shape us, our words shape the way we meet those circumstances. Speech is not merely descriptive, it is generative. To speak is to bring something into being, even if it begins only as a faint echo of possibility in the mind. If you want to know where a person is headed, listen to how they talk about themselves, about others, about the future. Words are not cheap. They are the architects of destiny. Think about it this way: when you open your mouth, you are not just releasing sound. You are laying down psychological patterns that reinforce what you believe to be true. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'll never make it," you are constructing a worldview in which failure is the inevitable outcome. The mind, hearing this phrase over and over again, begins to search for evidence to prove it true. It filters out opportunities and magnifies obstacles because it is loyal to the words you feed it. The tragedy is that most people sabotage themselves long before life has a chance to test them. They build prisons out of casual sentences and then wonder why they feel trapped. Now, consider the opposite. If your speech becomes disciplined, if you train your mouth to speak of order, possibility, responsibility, and truth, your entire orientation toward reality changes. Instead of unconsciously reinforcing despair, you begin to reinforce courage. Instead of carving out pathways of resignation, you carve out pathways of resilience. This is not a trick of positive thinking. It is not the shallow optimism of pretending everything is fine. It is much deeper. It is the recognition that language is one of the most powerful tools of transformation human beings possess. When you choose your words with care, you are choosing the framework through which you interpret chaos. And it's not only about what you say out loud. The words you speak internally, your private dialogue, are just as formative. If you tell yourself every morning that you are weak, disorganized, or unworthy, you are engraving those identities into your psyche. The repetition gives them weight until they feel immovable. But if you begin to discipline that voice, if you say instead, "I am responsible for what I do today, I will carry myself with strength," the mind starts to align with that posture. Slowly the identity shifts. The words you choose, repeated daily, turn into beliefs, and beliefs solidify into character. We know this instinctively when it comes to others. A child who is told repeatedly that they are stupid eventually stops trying to learn, not because it is true, but because the words made it true in their experience. A friend who hears encouragement begins to walk with more confidence, not because reality has changed, but because the words given to them built a new reality inside them. The same principle applies to each of us. You are constantly shaping yourself by what you say, and you are constantly shaping the people around you. This is why careless speech is so dangerous. Every flippant insult, every sarcastic remark, every lazy complaint, these things matter. They don't just vanish into the air. They take root, sometimes invisibly, and grow into attitudes, habits, and outcomes. To say, "It's just words," is to misunderstand human nature. Words are never just words. They are the medium through which thought takes form and through which reality is interpreted. So the challenge is to treat language as the sacred responsibility it is. Train your mouth to resist the temptation of empty negativity. Replace idle cynicism with words that orient you toward growth. Don't lie. Don't exaggerate. Don't poison your own life by rehearsing failure in advance. Instead, build. Use words to carve out clarity from confusion. Use words to steady yourself when everything around you shakes. Use words to tell the truth even when it costs you something, because truth spoken out loud has the strange and profound ability to reorganize chaos into order. Your future is not simply waiting for you. It is being built every day in the sentences you string together. And the most remarkable thing is that you already have this power within you. You don't need permission to use it. Every conversation, every self-reflection, every moment of silence you break with speech is a chance to create or destroy. If you discipline this power, if you train your mouth to speak with intention, then even in the face of adversity, you will find yourself standing on solid ground. So remember this: you are speaking your future into existence whether you realize it or not. The only question is whether you are building a prison or a palace. If you pay close attention to people, you'll notice that the way they speak reveals more about them than they realize. It's not just the content of their words. It's the tone, the hesitation, the choice of phrases, the little slips that reveal whether they carry themselves with dignity or with quiet self-contempt. You can hear in someone's voice whether they respect themselves. And the tragic reality is that many people undermine their own worth before they've even been given a chance to prove it. Think about how often people apologize when there is nothing to apologize for. They enter a room and say, "Sorry I'm late," when they're on time. They begin sentences with, "This might sound stupid," but as if they have already declared their own words meaningless before anyone else has had the chance to hear them. They punctuate their speech with laughter, not because something is funny, but because they're afraid of being taken seriously. These habits may appear small, but they are not. They are cracks in the foundation of self-respect. Over time, those cracks widen and the entire structure of confidence collapses. The way you speak is the external manifestation of what you believe about yourself internally. If you constantly diminish yourself in words, it is not long before you diminish yourself in action. And once that happens, the world begins to reflect it back to you. People will treat you in line with the respect you command through your speech. Not because they are cruel, but because human beings unconsciously calibrate their interactions based on signals. If your words signal insecurity, hesitation, or worthlessness, you invite others, often without them even realizing it, to treat you accordingly. This is why self-respect must begin in the mouth. Before you can walk with confidence, you must speak with confidence. And speaking with confidence doesn't mean arrogance or bluster. It doesn't mean raising your voice or demanding attention. It means speaking with clarity, with honesty, and with a sense of weight. When you speak, your words should feel anchored in something solid, like you actually believe in what you're saying, and by extension, that you actually believe in yourself. But let's go deeper. Why does this matter psychologically? Because language is not separate from identity. It is the scaffolding that holds identity together. The words you choose are not random. They are selected by your inner perception of who you are. If you believe you are insignificant, you will speak in ways that reinforce insignificance. If you believe you are worthy of respect, your speech will naturally reflect it. But here's the paradox: it works both ways. By changing how you speak, you can also change what you believe about yourself. This is why training your mouth is such a powerful exercise. You are not simply modifying surface behavior, you are rewiring the very way you perceive yourself. Now, of course, this requires vigilance. It's much easier to slip into lazy patterns of communication, to let sarcasm or self-deprecation fill the silence, than it is to discipline your tongue. But every time you choose careful, deliberate speech, every time you refuse to cut yourself down in casual conversation, you are making a declaration of worth. You are telling both yourself and the world, "I take myself seriously. I am someone whose words matter." That act, repeated over weeks and months, has the power to reshape your entire life. It also sets boundaries. When you respect yourself in speech, others notice. They realize, sometimes unconsciously, that they cannot cross certain lines with you. They adjust the way they interact, often without being aware of it. In this way, your words become not only a reflection of your self-respect, but also a shield that protects it. Speech disciplines not just the self, but also the social environment around the self. We live in a culture that often confuses humility with self-erasure. People believe that in order to be kind, they must diminish themselves. They think respect for others means the absence of respect for themselves. But that is a distortion. True humility is not the denial of your worth. It is the recognition of your worth alongside the worth of others. And the first place you practice that balance is in your speech. You don't have to boast. You don't have to shout. But you do have to stop poisoning your own dignity with words that make you small. So the next time you open your mouth, pay attention. Ask yourself, am I speaking like someone who respects themselves? Am I giving my words the weight they deserve? Or am I carelessly undermining the very foundation of my character with needless apologies, dismissive phrases, or cynical jokes? Every sentence is a choice. Every phrase is a chance to either build your self-respect or chip away at it. And the truth is simple: if you want others to take you seriously, you must first train your mouth to take yourself seriously. If you want to understand the true weight of language, consider this: every word you speak is a seed. And like all seeds, it doesn't simply vanish into the air after it's spoken. It falls into the soil of your mind, or into the minds of others, and it grows. The harvest may not appear immediately. Sometimes it takes weeks, months, or even years. But make no mistake, what you say consistently will eventually come back to you in the form of habits, behaviors, and even the trajectory of your life. Think about the way people speak in moments of difficulty. How many times have you heard someone say, "I can't handle this," or "I'm just not that kind of person"? They may not realize it, but those words are not harmless expressions of frustration. They are planting seeds of limitation, and once planted, those seeds begin to sprout. The next time that person faces a challenge, their mind recalls the phrase they've rehearsed 100 times, I can't handle this, and so they act in line with the belief. Words create grooves in the psyche. They dig tracks that become the default paths for thought and behavior. On the other hand, people who discipline their speech plant very different seeds. When they face setbacks, instead of declaring defeat, they say, I'll find a way, or, this is difficult, but I can endure it. These words may seem small in the moment, but they are profound. They are seeds of resilience, and with repetition, they grow into habits of perseverance. Over time, those habits become character, and character determines destiny. This is the invisible process by which language shapes a life. Psychologists have long observed that the subconscious mind cannot easily distinguish between imagination and reality. When you repeat words, whether negative or positive, you are programming your subconscious to accept them as truth. And once they are accepted as truth, they influence behavior automatically. If you constantly complain, you are not just describing your situation, you are training your brain to perceive the world as something to complain about. You will begin to see problems everywhere, and worse, you will begin to act in ways that reinforce the very frustrations you talk about. But if you discipline yourself to speak words of responsibility and strength, your brain starts to rewire itself towards solutions, not obstacles. The principle is ancient. You can find it echoed in philosophy, religion, and psychology alike. What you sow, you will reap. But people forget that sowing happens most often through the mouth. Every, I can't, every, I'll try tomorrow, every, I'm not good enough, is a seed planted. And if you plant enough of those seeds, the garden of your life becomes choked with weeds. But every I will, every I can endure this, every I'll take responsibility is also a seed. And those seeds grow into trees that provide stability, strength, and shade when life becomes harsh. This is why discipline in speech cannot be separated from discipline in life. They are one and the same. If you train your mouth, you are training your mind. And if you train your mind, you are shaping your habits. This means you must treat every casual word as something sacred, because it is. There are no neutral sentences. Every word is either constructing or destroying. Now, some might dismiss this and say, it's just words. I don't really mean it. But the reality is that repetition gives words power, whether or not you consciously intend it. The subconscious doesn't care if you were joking when you said, I'm terrible at everything. It only hears the repetition. Over time, those repeated words become your internal script, and once the script is written, you begin to live it out. So the challenge is to become a careful gardener of your language. Pay attention to the seeds you are scattering with every sentence. Are you planting weeds of despair, or are you planting seeds of courage? Are you rehearsing excuses, or are you rehearsing responsibility? The harvest will come, whether you like it or not. You don't get to choose whether the seeds grow. You only get to choose which seeds you plant. And the truth is, most of us are already living in the harvest of yesterday's words. If you look at your current habits, your current outlook, even your current relationships, you will see the evidence of seeds planted long ago. But that doesn't mean you're trapped. It means that starting today, you can plant something new. It may take time for the new crop to appear, but if you are consistent, it will come. So guard your tongue as you would guard the soil of a precious garden. Train your mouth to speak words worth planting, because one day you will walk through the forest those words created. If we have already established that words shape reality, that they build self-respect, and that they plant the seeds of habit, then we must also acknowledge the sharp edge of this truth: words can heal or they can destroy. The tongue is perhaps the most underestimated source of power in human life. With it, you can ignite someone's courage, or you can extinguish it in an instant. You can restore dignity to a person who has forgotten their worth, or you can cut them down so deeply that they carry the wound for years. And what makes it so dangerous is how effortless it feels. It takes almost nothing to speak, yet the consequences of speech echo far beyond the moment. We all know this from experience. Every one of us carries in our memory a sentence someone once spoke that marked us. It may have been a word of encouragement, a teacher who told you, "You're capable of more than you realize." That one phrase might have planted the courage that carried you through years of difficulty. Or perhaps it was the opposite. Maybe someone you trusted told you, "You'll never amount to anything," and that phrase became a shadow you've had to wrestle against ever since. Words linger. They outlast the moment in which they are spoken. They take root, and once again they grow, sometimes into life, giving fruit, sometimes into poison. And what is true of others is equally true of ourselves. The way you speak to yourself can either give you resilience or strip it away. If, in every failure, you tell yourself, "I'm useless," you inflict wounds on your own psyche. You are not just describing the situation, you are destroying your capacity to rise from it. But if in the same situation, you tell yourself, "This is hard, but I can endure it," you are strengthening your spirit to stand back up. The difference is only words, yet the outcomes could not be more different. Philosophically, this reveals something profound. Language is not neutral, it is directional. Every sentence carries with it a trajectory. It either builds up or tears down, moves toward truth or toward deception, toward order or toward chaos. That is why careless speech is so corrosive. It is not harmless venting. It is an active force pushing life either toward destruction or toward healing. This is why traditions across history, from scripture to philosophy, warn so consistently about the tongue. It is small, but it governs much. And here is the critical point: if you fail to master this power, it will master you. The undisciplined tongue becomes an instrument of chaos, not just in the world around you, but inside you. Sarcasm, gossip, slander, self-loathing, constant complaint, these are not simply bad habits. They are destructive forces that reshape your character into something brittle and bitter. And once your tongue has built that character, it becomes harder and harder to reverse the process. The longer you allow your speech to corrode, the more it locks you into a life defined by chaos. But there is hope, because the opposite is also true. A disciplined tongue has the power to heal, both yourself and others. With a single honest word, you can repair a broken relationship. With a single encouraging sentence, you can lift someone who is drowning in despair. With a single declaration of responsibility, you can reorient your own life toward order. This is not hyperbole. This is the lived reality of human beings. History itself has turned on words. Revolutions have begun with words. Families have been healed by words. Individuals have been transformed because someone spoke life into them when they had nothing left. So the question you must ask is, how will you use this instrument you've been given? Will you allow your tongue to become a weapon of destruction, careless, corrosive, cynical, or will you train it, discipline it, and use it to bring order, courage, and truth into the world? You cannot avoid the choice. Every word you speak is already casting a vote one way or the other. This is the responsibility that lies in your mouth. It may feel overwhelming at first, but it is also empowering. Because no matter how careless you may have been with your words in the past, you can begin today to redirect them. You can decide here and now that your speech will no longer be a source of destruction, but a source of strength. That your words will not tear down but build up. That your tongue will not lie but will tell the truth, even when it costs you. Remember this: your tongue is small, but it is mighty. It is not neutral. It will either heal or destroy. The choice is yours, and you are making it every time you open your mouth. So let me leave you with this: your words are not small, and they are never wasted. They are the very tools by which you shape yourself, your relationships, and the world around you. Every sentence you speak carries the power to build or to destroy, to enslave or to set free. Train your mouth as you would train your body, with discipline and intention, because it will decide the quality of your life. When you speak, let it be with clarity. When you declare, let it be with courage. And when you choose silence, let it be because you refuse to wound with carelessness. In the end, you will live inside the house your words have built. Make sure it is a house of strength, of truth, and of dignity. So guard your tongue, direct it, master it, because if you do, you will not only transform yourself, you will transform the very world you speak into.